The Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard, Republican candidate for governor, is probably asking the question to the voters of Michigan, how do you like me now? He will be asking, in fact, in 12 days. The August 3rd primary is coming up, and the latest poll shows that he is at 11.6%. The leaders, Hoekstra and Cox, at right around 26%, and Rick Snyder in between there. And as we always say, it depends which poll you're looking at on which day. But that's the latest one anyway that we're seeing, and the sheriff is on the other end of our line. Good morning to you.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Is that striking distance for you, the spread that we're looking at right now? Do you feel that you can still get to the top?
I don't buy that poll
Don't you?
all.
Why not?
Our poll, we've done a poll ourselves with a nationally recognized pollster, a 500-person sample, only likely Republican voters, and I was tied for first. So, I just don't buy into that one at all. Most of the other polls show everybody's in a pack. That one has almost everybody decided. Most of the other polls have the biggest numbers, the undecided. So this one's such an outlier, it just doesn't make any sense.
What do you think is going to, if in fact, as you say, your polling indicates the sort of people who vote in a Republican primary, the sort of engaged voters, the people who are going to turn up on an August Tuesday, and wait in line and go ahead and pull the lever for one of the candidates, what do you think, if it's a big logjam at the top, with 13 days left or 12, what can you do to separate yourself from the pack at this stage?
Well, we're going to be hitting the gas, obviously, even more than we have in the last 3 or 4 days to drive home our message of two things. First, that I'm the only candidate that has the experience to know what to do, how to do it, and is willing to do it on the first day. Some nice people running, but no one else has kind of been there, done that, and we need someone that has that capability because the building's on fire. I mean, if you're going to have heart surgery, you wouldn't want to go in and have it done by somebody that never done it before, but they had a plan on how to do it. You'd want to go in to somebody that had people that had survived and that were living great lives after. And, I was a senator in the 90s when we did exactly what we have to do now, and we went from one of the worst states in America to have a business to one of the best. We went from $1 billion deficit without raising taxes, cut taxes 27 times, and when I left, we had $1 billion cash surplus. And I've run a large government organization, over 1,200 employees for over a decade. So, I think the resume is going to be important in the end. They're going to be hiring somebody to tackle these head on, and I'm the only one that's actually done it. And then secondly, I'm a willing person to do the tough things. This current governor has not tackled some of these things head on because for different reasons. I don't know whether it's because she doesn't know the system. She has said that being a person that, she was a prosecutor and then the attorney general didn't lend any experience of how to deal with the legislature. That one of her biggest failings was not being a legislator. Well, I've been a legislative leader, so I get that, but also I'm willing to make the tough calls because for me, the benchmark of success is not getting reelected or being popular. It's keeping my kids in the state. And the only way I'm going to keep them in the state is to do some tough things to make sure jobs come back here.
Speaking of the Attorney General, and there's a lot of water cooler talk having to do with this gubernatorial primary coming up. But I have people that ask me all the time, why doesn't anybody ever say anything good about Mike Cox? And what I mean by that is you don't hear people say, boy, that Mike Cox, he's a good guy. You don't hear people say that. Why not?
Well, I'm not. One of the things I've been doing from the beginning, and I'm going to stick to, is just talk about what I want to do and about my campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to talk about other candidates. I really, really want people to vote for me, not against somebody else.
Mm-hmm. You are, by my figuring, you have the best sense of humor of any of the Republican candidates, if that counts for anything. And you,
I appreciate that.
Well, you're in the demographic of a lot of the people listening to this program, too. You're a vibrant guy, or you obviously have experience, and you seem to be able to, in a room, engage. When you were in that debate on Mackinac Island with all 7 people up there, it was pretty clear to me that the one candidate that anyone else who was done with that debate would have wanted to sit down with for a mint julep on the porch was you. You managed yourself pretty well in that weird situation and that tough crowd.
No, I appreciate that. I think it comes in part from being in police work where you get thrust into a lot of different situations and you have to react. Sometimes you react by being, very forceful, and sometimes you react by breaking the mood and the tension with a little bit of humor. So, yeah, I'd love to go to the porch for a mint julep, except I think I'd have a pecan ball myself.
Well, your porch, if you're governor, would be just down the street there, up the hill in the governor's residence. You have made a splash this week talking about the idea of Michigan being a right-to-work state. Could we get status as a right-to-work state, and what would that do for our economic growth? I will. Well, why don't you lay out your theory on that for us, because I find it interesting.
Well, I mean, obviously we've been going in a very difficult direction for every family and person in the state for a number of years. And my point is we're going to have to do something very different, very dramatic, very forceful, that all the businesses here and across the country say, wow, did you see what Michigan just did? They really want us. They really care about changing the dynamics in that state. And this is one of those dynamics that certainly will make people stand up and look and take a second look, if you will, at Michigan.
This means that you would not have to belong to a union to get a certain type of job. You could opt out if you wanted to.
Right. Well, I mean, it goes to the freedom question, too. I mean, why does government tell you to do a lot of things? I'm pretty tired of government telling you, when you have to wear a seatbelt, where you can go have a cigarette, when you can buy a light bulb of a certain kind, what kind of toilet sits in your restroom. All of those things government's telling you. In addition to that, why don't you have the choice to say, I want to go to get this job, and I want to join the union, or I don't. It's up to me, and I want to contribute to a political cause, or I don't. It's up to me. It's not going to be done against my will, and I don't have to do it in order to get a job. The only qualification I need is I'm going to be a good worker, a hard worker, and get the job done.
The Republican Party chair, Ron Weiser, said yesterday, he felt, or was it 2 days ago, that he felt there was a chance that the right to work could pass in Michigan through a ballot proposal referendum. And Congressman Hoekstra, your opponent yesterday, one of them anyway, was in here, and he said there's no chance right to work would ever pass in Michigan. And to talk about it now is really a misjudgment of priorities, that it would be a waste of time.
Well, I mean, sometimes you're not willing to talk about something that's tough, and there's going to be a lot of tough choices ahead and tough things to do. And sometimes you're going to have to lay out something that's not going to be popular. So, this is not all going to be sit around a campfire and roast marshmallows. There's going to be some tough moments, and you have to be willing to do that. And, a lot of folks don't have that willingness to do that, don't have that backbone. I do.
So what does your campaign look like today? I know that when you get to 12 days left, every second counts. Yesterday, Congressman Hoekstra said in here that, he's just ready for the people to decide by now. It's been a long, long slog, and I know you've knocked on a lot of doors. You've been all over the state doing media and trying to connect, doing speeches and debates and everything else. What on this particular day, give us a snapshot of what it'll be like for you.
Well, later in the day, I have actually at lunch, I've got a speech and a couple of appearances, and then, that's sandwiched in between doing my day job.
Yeah.
And then at night, I've got 2 or 3 events. That's kind of my basic routine. I fill up my evenings and my lunches and my weekends pretty full.
Well, it'll be a pretty full job if you get it, that's for sure, and we'll be in touch again before the primary. Your web address, again, for people who want to know more about you?
BouchardForGovernor.com.
BouchardForGovernor.com. Travel safely. Great talking to you.
I'll have to put my mint julep recipe on there, too.
I know. We got everybody thirsty this morning, didn't we? See what I mean? Yeah, we just watch the clock here. Noon's going to come sooner or later. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
All right,
Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard, candidate for governor, who says his polling shows it's a big sort of tie at the top. And he totally discounts that Detroit News WDIV poll. And again, when you talk about primary elections, it's not a broad number of people that vote. It's very specific, active, engaged voters. Anybody will tell you that. Somebody who's willing to go on a summer day and wait in line, on a Tuesday and vote in a primary is somebody who actually cares, who's paying attention, who's engaged, and probably knows more about these candidates than the general person if you picked up the phone and called at random. So the poll that you pay attention to is important. And really, I mean, you have plenty of opportunities now, better than ever with websites, to get all the information you want to make an informed decision.